Welcome to Vsb News Online for Friday, January the 9th. I'm Charles Webb. On the face of it, the Bermuda workforce fell by 511 people between 2013 and 2014. But the situation is so complex that Acting Premier Bob Richards said today there was no statistically significant erosion in job markets, although other data suggested employment was weak in the first half of 2014.
What we have in Bermuda is a whole trainload of misinformation that's passed out, and unfortunately for the media of Bermuda is repeated without any kind of analysis or reference. I guess this is the burden that we have to bear as a government, because we kind of know things in government that the public don't know because we have access to the data. So I wouldn't put any weight to the presumption of your question. That's the first thing. Okay. Now, to answer the question about the 2,000 jobs, we don't think we've bitten off more than we can chew. We do not believe that. It's doable, and we're working towards getting it done. You'll recall also the same sources that you've quoted complain about the fact that we didn't have the 2,000 jobs done in the first 6 months. And we never said we were going to create 2,000 jobs in 6 months. So it's an example of the kind of disinformation that we have in Bermuda.
Well, you admit you have an uphill battle.
We knew we had an uphill battle from the start. When we took over this government, this economy was in free fall. And let no one forget that. We had business leaving here. We had people who had money leaving here. We had Bermudians losing their jobs. We had businesses going out of business. That was the environment when the OBA took over the government in December 2012. Even our greatest detractors will have to admit that that environment has changed since then in the 2 years we've been in power. Even our greatest detractors will have to admit that. So let us not concentrate on the negative. We understand it's a challenge, but we've made progress, a lot of progress since then, and we're going to get to where we need to go.
A male police officer had to be extricated by members of the public from his Land Cruiser this afternoon after it went off the road and over an embankment on the South Road in Southampton near the Fairmont Southampton Resort. The injured officer was taken to the hospital via ambulance for treatment to his injuries, and the South Road between Horseshoe Bay and Lighthouse Hill was cordoned off by the police. Witnesses to the 1:15 p.m. accident are asked to contact the Road Policing Unit on 295-0011. More bad news on the employment front. This time it's layoffs in the airline industry as a result of the merger of American Airlines and U.S. Air. Secretary General of the Bermuda Public Services Union, Ed Bull, takes up the story.
There is a total of 15 to 17 persons being laid off under the agreement. This is coming about primarily because the two entities, American Airlines formerly and the former U.S. Airways, have merged, and so the Bermuda office does not require the full complement of staff. So by agreement, we have been working on this for a number of months, and the airlines, the new corporate body of the American Airlines body, has treated the employees very fairly.
And because due to the nature of the work, they really can't be placed in another airline.
That's correct. It's very unfortunate because Bermuda, certainly during the winter months, does not facilitate U.S. Airways keeping their Philly flight or the Washington flight or the Charlotte flight. So they have been suspended until April of this year. And that will also depend on loads as they book for the summer period. All in all, it is worrisome that this is the third year that in particular we have no US Airways flight from Philadelphia during the winter months. So that does speak to the fact that we don't have no airlift, or there is no appetite for persons to come to Bermuda in large numbers.
So I presume there's no sort of need for any action on your union's part?
No, the union had spoken to the employees. We were there on hand after the employees were given their envelopes and had their conversations with the managers from overseas. And so one or two small inquiries, but they were dealt with effectively, and the parties, both parties, that being the employer and the employees, have amicably agreed to the separation.
So now the burden is on the Bermuda Tourism and Transit getting this airline thing sorted out.
Yeah, but there's also a burden in the sense that the displaced employees, if they can't find work, will have to probably make an application for financial assistance. That's another worry that we find ourselves in, that when people are displaced and they can't find work, naturally the state, by way of financial assistance, has to come into play.
Last night, the PLP released a statement voicing their disappointment with the lack of advertising of the now 12 America's Cup employment opportunities. Today, Minister of Economic Development and spearheader of the America's Cup bid, Dr. Grant Gibbons, released this statement read for us by VSB's Adrian Smet.
From the outset, I want to make it clear. It has always been and continues to be this government's commitment to ensure that Bermudians are afforded job opportunities associated with the America's Cup, and any assertion to the contrary is regrettable. It is unfortunate and indeed sad that the opposition would attempt to imply that the job opportunities posted by the America's Cup Event Authority, the ACEA, on their website, americascup.com, was somehow an effort to hide jobs away from Bermudians so that they would not be able to apply. It's an absurd suggestion, and nothing could be further from the truth. More specifically, had the opposition simply asked, they would have been advised that the ACEA has engaged a Bermudian recruiting firm to assist them with hiring Bermudians to fill these positions and others in the future. To be clear, the ACEA is very keen to recruit Bermudians for specific positions. In fact, as a reminder, in an editorial contribution to the Royal Gazette on December 19th, Peter Rush, communications director for the ACEA, stated that they intended to hire 12 Bermudians, and that was just to start. At that time, he referred readers to the job section on americascup.com. This was a beginning only. During December, the ACEA were reviewing local recruitment companies to assist them in their recruitment efforts. They made a decision on the successful company recently, and they have been working with that company ever since. This will result in an advertisement appearing in the Royal Gazette early next week, listing several positions that the ACEA is earnestly seeking Bermudians to fill. These jobs will also be posted on other online employment platforms and forums. One of the strong points of our Bermuda bid for the 2017 America's Cup was our assertion that the entire Bermuda community would be welcoming the events to Bermuda. The misplaced, inaccurate, indeed blatantly untrue allegations made yesterday, which spurred uncertainty and concern within our community, work towards the exact opposite objective. It's incredibly frustrating and disappointing that those making these allegations did not bother to contact any of us associated with the America's Cup to seek further information or clarification. Instead, they were quick to invent untruths and repeat unfounded rumors, which is tremendously counterproductive and unhelpful to the overall process of ensuring that we all work together for the good of Bermudians. Minister Gibbons concluded, I know the ACEA are looking forward to reviewing applicants to the positions they will be advertising and in welcoming Bermudians to their team. I know they are pleased already by the initial responses which have been received from their website. For VSB News, I'm Adrian Smat.
Until it becomes compulsory to record the number and varieties of cancers encountered by residents of Bermuda, it will be impossible to know what the trends are and what particular cancers are predominant on the island. This is one of the challenges that the Bermuda Cancer and Health Center is facing, and its Executive Director, Tara Soares, hopes talks with the Health Ministry will bring about a change in the situation.
I think the biggest thing that surprised me is that they managed to come up with a machine that does a lot of the work that was done by 12 machines in the past. How did that come about?
You know, I think that's just the evolution of research and science. Scientists always looking for better ways to do treatment to reduce radiation exposures as well. You know, back when X-rays were first introduced, the X-ray exposure just to see through the body, to see through the bones was significantly high. As scientists continue to work on fine-tuning the technology, the radiation doses now delivered from X-rays is minimal. And the same thing has happened when we look at treatment, particularly for radiation therapy.
There's nothing in Bermuda that won't look after. I think there were a few examples that it couldn't look after. But your new oncologist, Dr. Ung, said that Bermuda had a surprising number of rare treatments, rare cancers. Is this going to be helpful?
Yeah, I have to leave that to the specialist, but that is very interesting. There was a study done in 2009 that looked at the cancer statistics, and basically we're seeing the same number per capita as the United States. But that study found that head and neck cancers, throat cancers in particular, were higher in Bermuda than in comparable United States. So that's you know, an interesting kind of question that we need to be asking. Why are we seeing a peak in some particular types of cancer?
No obvious signs of where that's coming from now.
Well, I don't think it's been studied. And one of the other challenges we have in Bermuda is we do not have mandatory reporting for the Bermuda National Tumor Registry. So that's where we should be going to see how many of each types of cancer are being diagnosed. Without the mandatory reporting, we know we are underreporting on some cancers. That becomes very challenging because if we do have a problem, we're not seeing it specifically through our tumor registry, which is really where we should be getting that information.
Just another challenge.
Another challenge, but you know, we're working with the Department of Health, the Minister of Health, to make sure that we can get a mechanism in place so that we are doing a better job of reporting our cancers.
And we'll be back with more news right after this.
The Marketplace Food Court is you and your family's one-stop shop. Start your day at the breakfast bar with omelets made to order and traditional Bermuda codfish breakfast. The chefs will cook lunch and dinner to your liking. Along with the salad bar, sandwich bar, sushi bar, and fruit bar, the Marketplace Food Court is your kitchen away from home. Every day is hassle-free with nutritious meals from the Marketplace Food Court. Visit us 7 days a week. Homemade cooking, quality service, all at prices you can count on.
Robert Watson, the Canadian utilities veteran who on Monday became the new Chief Executive Officer of the Bermuda Regulatory Authority, is encouraged by the can-do spirit he has encountered in Bermuda during his recent visits. With this, the America's Cup in mind, he feels it is one of the attributes that will enable the island to take its energy and telecommunications policy forward to new levels.
What's more important, and we found in Saskatchewan, is that it was most important to have reliable and safe power. That was the most important factor for sure. And then the public wanted to assure that what they were paying for power was reasonable.
Right.
That's what they wanted to do in Saskatchewan, and I'm sure the people here are the same.
Very much. Of course, the cost of oil going down the way it is actually reflected immediately in Bermuda in cheaper fuel, cheaper electricity. That's a first, I think.
Well, yes, I understand that the old sort of bunker oil is the type they burn, you know, and it's very similar here, although it's a small island, but it's still the same. I mean, the problems here, or the opportunities here, more important, are the same as if Saskatchewan or anywhere in the world. We were so small in Saskatchewan that we couldn't drive the price of gas. We had to deal with the gas market, and same here.
It's free enterprise. This is the same situation here, but Belco, by history, not by design, is a monopoly all of its own, and so whatever comes next will be hugely expensive to start, including I think there's some plans for fields of reflective glass to collect the sun. That's going to cost something like $400 million. You have to think in those terms to solve a problem in Bermuda, and yet we seem to have the ambition.
Well, certainly, you know, I've been here. I was here a couple of times throughout the fall, you know, and it was just conversations. I wasn't working yet. It was just a couple of conversations, and I talked to a lot of people. And, there's a can-do attitude here for sure. And I think that it's going to be quite exciting, especially for the next 3 years where America's Cup is coming. And that just sort of starts people going, right? I think everybody here will be quite surprised. And the opportunity will be is to set ourselves up for the America's Cup and then take that advantage and carry it on into the future.
Now with you, of course, you've got 20 licensed operators here in Bermuda. You have to keep them happy, and you have to keep their clients happy. But basically, you've got to be an administrator / regulator. Is that an unusual position to be in? You tend to be sitting on the side as a government body, but you're doing the work of I'll call them, I suppose, private enterprise.
Well, I think as far as my understanding in a briefing, is the regulatory authority is an independent body. I mean, of course, we work close with government. You have to. They come up with a policy. But I think because of the independence, it works out very well. We're able to see both sides. And I know, talking to the commissioners and the board here, that we really want to enable business as we go forward, but be socially responsible to the people of the country.
This is one of those stories that one would be inclined to say, all's well that ends well. Early today, police issued an urgent missing persons bulletin for 84-year-old Henry Smith, who was last seen yesterday afternoon in the My Lords Bay, Hamilton Parish area. This morning, the police called a press conference to include a member of the Smith family, a gesture indicating their growing concern for his well-being. Media assembled in the police media room, but just as the conference was about to start, a call came in indicating Mr. Smith was found. Yes, in My Lords Bay, Hamilton Parish area. After medical checks, he is now back at home, safe and sound, and happily, all's well that ends well. And now we return to Earl Baisden with the latest from the sports desk.
Yesterday, Tyler Butterfield announced his decision to dedicate his time to the sport of Ironman. We spoke with Butterfield to ask him how he came to this decision.
I guess I just perform better at the longer version. So it's one of those things that am I representing myself and my country and my family well by going to races and making up the numbers? Or am I better off to go into races that suit me, that I can perform well at? So I wouldn't say I'm like, it's not like I'm not representing triathlon, I'm not representing Bermuda. I'm just not representing them at the Olympic distance. I'm very much still representing Bermuda in triathlon and around the world. It's just not on the Olympic stage, which I would have loved to have done, but it's just at a certain time you have to be realistic. And I'm not 20 anymore. I'm not traveling around the world. I'm trying to base out of home with family. And as well, to be honest, they're just too fast. So I'd be on best looking for a top 30 performance. And over the history, I mean, in Athens I was 35th, and in London I was 34th. And the question is that really a goal that's worth committing 2 years to be in the 30 number in the Olympics? And it's a big commitment. Whereas there's other races that it's achievable to win or place in a higher position, and because of that, represent everyone at sort of a more, what I'd call as a higher level.
Boston has been selected by the United States Olympic Committee as the candidate city to host the 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Games. Boston beat out domestic competition from Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. Our goal is to host the Olympic and Paralympic Games that are innovative, walkable, and hospitable to all. Boston's mayor, Marty Walsh, is quoted as saying, "The deadline for cities to apply to host the Games is September 15th of this year, with the IOC set to make their decision in 2017. On January 25th, the Bermuda Lawn Tennis Association will be holding a fun day. David Lambert tells us more. North Village Community Club officially closed its Kicks for Cancer campaign recently with a check presentation of $3,075 to the Bermuda Cancer and Health Center. This was North Village's sixth consecutive campaign. North Village President Stephen Coddington is quoted as saying, "This was a tough campaign. 3 out of 4 premier matches were cancelled due to Hurricanes Faye and Gonzalo. It would have been a devastating impact on the campaign if not for the generosity of Friesenbrook Meyer, who agreed to extend the girl donation to the youth games." Coddington went on to say Friesenbrook Meyer donated $25 for every North Village goal scored during all youth matches played on October 25th. North Village youth players did not disappoint, scoring a total of 35 goals. Coddington concluded, "It truly saved the campaign. In addition, it gave our young athletes the greatest sense of pride to be able to contribute towards the campaign." After a brief couple of weeks off for the Christmas break, the Smash Table Tennis Commercial League continued last evening. TBA got the better of Happy Valley Danto 5-3, while the Itsy Bitsy Smashers defeated the Smash and Bowls 5-0. Smash and Dash defeated the Smooth Bowl Strokers 5-0, while the Bowl Breakers defeated I Thought It Was Beer Pong 5-2. Dynamite defeated Security Associates Limited 5-0. The 2014-15 Bermuda Pool Association League resumed with Queens Club Kings and the Devonshire Recreation Club Stripes leading the league with records of 7-0. The Mariners Hammerheads were in third with a record of 6-1, while St. George's Cricket Club Saints and Bermuda Breeze both were at 5-2. I'm Earl Baisden reporting for VSB Sports.
Looking at the weather for Saturday, January the 10th, there will be sunny breaks with a few showers. Winds will be southwesterly, light to moderate, varying northwesterly during the afternoon and increasing northerly and moderate overnight. We are expecting a high near 71 and a low near 64. This weather report is the courtesy of the Bermuda Weather Service. Thanks for watching VSB News Online for Friday, January the 9th. I'm Charles Webb. My tongue.